not up to that. So move and second, please, that those two apologies. Oh, sorry, there's no more, is there? No more? No. Yeah. Midday, yeah. Thank you, Roger. Yeah. Movements, thank you, Lou. Thank you, Mike. All those in favour say aye. Against, carried. Disclosure of members' interest, and we do have some confidential stuff later on. If you think there is a conflict of interest, please declare it. There be none. Thank you. Yeah. Mike said it was information about their school getting some funding, but it's only for information only. I don't think. Where's my legal lady, Sue? It's all right, isn't it? That's the information's come. Yeah, you're not making a decision on that, so I think it's fine. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Thank you, Lou. Are there any late items? There being none, we'll move on to the. Sorry. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just make sure that you press button B when you want to talk. Confirmation of the order of meeting. I don't think there's any changes. We're good to go, aren't we? Thank you. Thank you, Claire. Bruce, second. Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Against, carried. Serve delivery confirmation of the minutes.
Recommendation is that the open and public excluded minutes be confirmed, but it should only be the open minutes at this stage.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah. That was 15th September. So go through those page by page. Are there any? Page 1, 2, page 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's all. Everybody happy with those? Thank you, Roger. Second, please. Thank you, Owen. All those in favour say aye. Against, carried. Transportation report. Brian, welcome. A lot of activity on your report, Brian. It must be summertime.
Yes, it certainly is summertime.
We're a district of cones at the moment. Wherever you go, there's orange cones. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman and councillors. So I just flick to page 2 there. We have the table of works that are planned for this construction season, or things that are already underway. So Mangatautari Road, I had hoped it would have started last week, but they've just getting their ducks in the row, and they will be starting this week on that project from the domain heading towards Luckett Last Road. And that will be completed and sealed before Christmas, he says, with his fingers crossed, the right weather and everything to go well. Resurfacing, so Higgins are due to start chip sealing this month, and they've already done some of the asphalting work. The low road seal extension, which is within our remaining budget there, will be done in about January or February. And of course, the Hanlon Road roundabout that many of you probably would have driven through in recent times is starting to look more complete. And the Williamson Street upgrade for the pool is complete, barring the asphalt surface and final speed tables at the pedestrian crossings. The Te Awa Cycleway, we have shortlisted contractors for that tendering, and we'll be pricing that shortly. With one easement agreement outstanding, which we believe we'll have secured very shortly. But the idea will be to start construction virtually straight after Christmas.
Roger.
Yes.
Roger, can you push your button?
I'll repeat that. Still a June finish?
We have to spend the Transport Agency funding by the 30th of June. There is a little bit more leeway with the MB funding. So we'll certainly be doing our best to complete it by June, but it's quite an extensive project and it will be weather dependent at times. So.
Brian, I just went out to the Avantidrome yesterday and they're doing a lot of the cycleways boxing up. Is that part of that cost of the roundabout and the environs rather than subsidy money, NZTO money? Am I right there? Is it extra or is it just part of that contract?
It's part of that contract,
okay.
yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So if we flick to the next page, there's a good aerial shot of the new roundabout being developed. So you'll see there's a footpath on the left-hand side, which allows cyclists who are on the road to bypass off and take the footpath around the roundabout, because roundabouts are, you know, obviously the hazard for a cyclist if they're passing through it. And then on the other side, the footpath in the foreground, you know, will connect up right around past the velodrome, past the child cycle skills park, and it will go round the corner and hook onto a sort of a service lane area, which serves a couple of houses along there. So that part we were able to secure because St. Peter's allowed us to build that cycle path over the corner of their land, which was really great because it adds that connection which will go all the way into town in the future.
Mm.
So the roundabout, it has been in use for a few weeks now, with a contractor basically removing the old roads from around the edge there. In the foreground, you can see the yellow digger scraping away what was the roadway into St. Peter's College. And they're getting, as I say, the final footpaths and grass and landscaping, everything into place.
Yeah, thanks.
Just quickly, the bus stop, is there a bus stop just in front of the velodrome, just on the right of the roundabout there on Hanlon Road?
There certainly is. So it was just a metalled area for quite some time that cars were parking in and things like that, but it is a bus stop with an in and an out and a bus shelter and some parking for cars to drop people off or to wait for a bus.
And is that the intercity bus? Would that be for the intercity, or?
Well, I guess intercity could certainly use it if they want to, but it will be the Cambridge Hamilton
yes,
commuter bus
yeah,
service.
Yeah, because intercity used to stop there, just to the right of the roundabout. There was a little shelter.
Right. Yeah. Well, they'll certainly be able to stop in this new one. It will be ideal for them too.
I bring in border kids, weren't they, to St. Peter's? Yeah. There's no reason why they couldn't use that as the.
That's right.
Thank you.
It's
Clear.
for all buses.
Yeah, thanks. Claire, got a question?
Ryan, do you have an update on the art installation that's to go in the middle of the roundabout?
Right. So you'll recall the resolution of council was to examine an art installation towards the end of the contract if we had the budget and after some consultation. So since that time, I mean, we have had a bit of consultation with iwi and looked at designs, but we've also had consultation with St. Peter's, who are keen to examine other options for artwork. And our budget is also going to be extremely tight. The COVID interruption added a lot of extra cost where we had to pay the contractor just to maintain the site, but not able to do any work. And then after COVID lockdown ended, the rain started. So there were a whole lot of delays and extra costs for the contractor that we've had to pay them for. So the budget is going to be exceptionally tight. And yeah, I couldn't in good faith say to you that there's going to be money left over for an artwork installation.
Sounds like St. Peter's School might be interested in like doing a sculpture or 3D thing or something.
That's right. They're interested in something else which they would like to project manage and fundraise and everything. So we're allowing them time, I guess, to go away and do their spade work and see what they can come up with. Yeah.
You, Jim?
Brian and I met with St. Peter's and they were a bit concerned about the, I suppose you want to call it the standard that we were looking at for the centre of the roundabout. And they were looking at quite an artistic piece, I suppose. And certainly that raised some concerns with Brian about having something in the centre of the roundabout that was actually going to distract traffic or get people stopping and crossing to have a look at the piece of artwork. So the idea from St. Peter's is actually to do what Brian has said, but to have it off to the side of the roundabout, probably in that area where the digger is somewhere, Brian. Yeah. So there's a bit of a balancing act between having something that's attractive, I suppose, coming into Cambridge and something that's actually going to distract motorists. So, and what they were designing would obviously do that. It, you know, the draft drawings that they had look fantastic, but certainly wouldn't want to stick it in the middle of the roundabout.
Yeah. Marcus?
That's a real nice thing, roundabout, right? But if you want to stop people like being distracted by it, you could make it like our roundabout coming to town, Tiamutu, which still really curable and had nothing done with it. I'm just wondering, is there anything going to happen with that roundabout that's just got chips? Chips on it now?
Yeah, it certainly was the intention to do some decorative paving in it and tidy it up. Again, the budget has been, you know, hit. So the luxury items have been basically crossed off for now. So.
It's honestly, like Cambridge has stunning roundabouts, and we have the worst roundabout in the district, coming into Tiamutu, which has been a bane for years and years. And it looks shit.
Yeah.
Is it a State Highway 3 roundabout? I just know which one you're talking about.
Yeah. So it is the State Highway 1. The State Highway guys have said yes,
State Highway 3.
And what typically happens with roundabouts on state highways in urban areas is that the council ends up responsible for the landscaping, and the transport agency looks after everything on the road and the curbs. So we've had some discussions with them. They're happy for us to do something there, but they've got no money and they're not prepared to contribute. So it's really got to come out of our ratepayer funds, which are, a tree. Unfortunately, a tree in a very small roundabout is not ideal.
Yes, but roses would be nice. I'm sure the Rose Society would donate some roses.
It's really annoying. I mean, we do great roundabouts. This is really good. But honestly, it's been like that for 5-10 years now, and we've finally got it cleared out and wood chip put on it. But there's still not. The wood chip's been there for a year now. It can't be that hard. Or
whatever you put it needs to be low.
The thing is that our parks team were the ones who said we cannot maintain vegetation on this anymore. It's just too unsafe. Our staff are petrified of having to cross this busy road to a tiny roundabout where there's no protection and where the big trucks come around the corner and frequently drive over the edges of the roundabout. So that's why we've want to put some paving in there. But we will do it as soon as we're able to loosen some budget from somewhere to make it happen.
Brian, just you remember we had the same issue on the roundabout by the town hall in the Superloo. Our staff couldn't get on there simply because of that traffic, and it's unbelievable. Philip, you've got a question.
Just briefly, so this roundabout here at Hanlon Road, Hanlon Road, there was some maple trees. They transplanted back onto the roundabout, weren't they?
Yes, it's got about 3 decent-sized trees that have been spaded out of the ground, but where the roundabout was built into the centre of the roundabout. So when you get up close, it's got a sort of like a bund that goes around part of it, and the 3 trees in the middle.
And in the foreground there, maybe the sculpture part, a couple of sculptures and things would look really good if St. Peter's wanted to do that. And they've got a sculpture park at school too.
Right. Okay, so moving on, road maintenance contracts. It's all about mowing the spring grass and getting roads ready for sealing at the moment. Footpath Works, so we've made quite a bit of progress already, renewing some footpaths there in Princess Street, Shakespeare, Burns and Scott Street. And we did an extra piece in Coleridge Street. And we've got those other ones which will be done in January and February.
Brian, the maintenance and pram crossings at that bottom of the table, you've said that you've got 85 identified. Are you planning to get all of them done? You think you'll be able to manage it? Because there's quite a few.
Yeah. Typically we'll do, close to 100 repairs a year of, chopping out a piece of broken footpath where it's lifted up with tree roots or something and replacing them.
Question, Liz?
Can I just go back to the CCTV extension? I'm just wondering if you can let us know, not now, but at some point, when other smaller communities like Karapiro Village might be able to be part of the extension. perhaps even at their own cost, I don't know. But I understood that once we had the core CCTV throughout the district, we were going to be able to add to that. So if you can come back to me at some stage, it would be helpful.
Right.
Thank you.
Bruce.
Ron, mine was on the same thing. If you got any comment on how it's going, is it performing up to expectations? There's a fair bit of money spent on it. So.
Yes, yeah. No, it is performing some good work. The police are regularly using it for prosecutions. We're certainly prosecuting large vehicles trying to cross the Cambridge Bridge, the Victoria Bridge, and recovering money from people who do damage because we've caught them on the cameras. Yeah, the police have certainly used it to solve a bit of crime and gather evidence for court cases. And we've used it ourselves to do mode surveys. So at key intersections in Cambridge and Tiamutu, we've counted cars and bikes and pedestrians and everything through intersections to see what percentage of ways people take trips, which would have been quite expensive to do in other ways. So it is certainly paying dividends. Yeah.
Does it have another plate recognition, specialist number plate recognition?
There are
Some
several
cameras.
cameras that do that, yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
important. Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry, Phil.
Just briefly, I noticed on the draft long-term plan there was budget for 20 grand a year for cameras for the next 10 years. So
That's correct, to keep expanding that camera system that's been put into the budget. Yeah, so I guess that partly answers your questions. But no, this is additional cameras, yes. Yeah, the renewals is built into the operating budget, which is a different location. Yeah. Road safety works. So you'll be familiar, Victoria Street by the Town Hall is largely complete, just waiting its final asphalt surfacing and the pedestrian island in the middle after the water main is installed this summer. The Lamb Street works are now complete and looking really good, and so much tidier and less chaos at the school gate there now. And the Factory Road crossing there is designed and ready for construction in the summer holidays. Under our community road safety education program, of course, we've submitted our program, well, for all of the roading maintenance and renewal work. We've had to get that draft program into the Transport Agency last month, so that's complete. But Megan Jolie has been busy with the young driver training activities, which you can see there's quite a bit of that going on in terms of getting our college students and others through learner courses, both in Tiamutu and Cambridge.
We had a representative here from the Tiamutu CAB yesterday as part of another meeting. And she just reminded us, and I just see it noted here, just Tiamutu College, but there's 4 to 5 buses of Tiamutu kids heading to Hamilton every day to go to other colleges. And I feel like we're missing that group if we're only dealing with one college. So just a note, she just wanted to remind us that actually, yeah, this course is a group that we're perhaps not engaging with as well.
Right.
Young adults as well, like the 19 who are still getting their license too. Like a lot of them, I know, aren't confident drivers with the skills.
Just on that, Brian, my son had special needs and he was with Tukura Correspondence School, and they organised a day where they had like really good driver teachers, and it was for the learner license, and they said, you come along for this day or 2 days and we will get you your license at the end of it. And the idea was, I think they spent 1 day intensively going over the road code and doing tests, and the next day they had a bulk booking at one of the testing stations, was in Hamilton, and they had the chance to sit their tests, and some of them actually had to do it a couple of times. But like my son actually got it, which I was really amazed at. Yeah, and it was good that you had those 2 days and you had all these experts around supporting you, and you know, I think they had a pretty high success rate. I don't know what it was, but I mean, it was done.
Yeah, so I mean, point 4 there, council does run a similar course and has been doing that for a while. So yeah, there's, what does it say here, to date this year, 2 of those courses have been run with a further organised for November this month. And it's run with an external provider contracted to carry out. So they are, you know, doing that intensive 1 day with learner or restricted licence holders to get them to that next level. Yep, so there's work around child restraints happening and driver fatigue. The motorcycle skills training in October there, so you'll often see that advertised in the local newspaper to get new motorcyclists or returning motorcyclists into those that training to increase their skills.
And actually, to add to that a little bit, Brian, I've been involved with that in the initial stages when it was set up with Megan. And the thing is not only just new drivers, but new motorcyclists, because with cost factors we're getting now, a lot of younger people, students that are using motorcycles. So the Andrew and Lynn Templeton are highly skilled instructors. I just wonder whether we can actually do a little bit more with the advertising. It is a very positive course. And honestly, after you've done it, you'll learn so much about being road aware out there with a motorcycle. It's really worthwhile.
Yeah,
Great program.
And I think it's, you know, it's well supported. I think all of the courses, we get good numbers who are going through them. Yep. So there's upcoming activities there. As I mentioned, young driver training, motorcycle training, billboards and sober drivers for Christmas. The passenger transport update there, with the introduction of the new electronic ticketing system, the reporting is not working properly just at the moment, so we don't actually have figures for Te and Cambridge. What we can see there in that table is the figures for the whole region, and those lower numbers are as a result of COVID. So hopefully in the next month or 2, they'll get their reporting system working and we'll see exactly what our numbers are doing.
I think that's really interesting, Ryan. Thanks for that. And my understanding is when that system is functioning, we can actually identify the short cross-town trips as well as the longer ones.
Yeah.
There's no indication of that yet coming through. I think that's going to be a really interesting piece of information.
And I think that's part of the issue that, you know, they've started this new ticketing system and the reporting requirements haven't been well worked out. And so it's, or there's faults with the system. But yeah, you with your bus card, you scan when you get on, you scan when you get off, and that works out your fare, but it also records, you know, how many passengers have taken what length of trip. So we'll get a lot richer data when the new reporting comes in. Sally has been busy with the waste minimisation activities over the last 3 months with those community events, Plastic Free July and food lovers classes and things like that. And another big thing that she's been involved with is that 3-yearly solid waste audit, which has been undertaken, where they collect a whole lot of bins off the street and bags and sort through it, which is a pretty messy task. But they get some really good information about what people are throwing out, so how people are using the waste system. And it was really amazing. There's one photograph there on page 8 of my report, which they lay out, you know, food which has been retrieved out of the rubbish, and it looks like it's brand new. And they lay it out like a platter. But it shows the very large amount of food waste that goes out in our waste collection at the curb.
Roger.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. There was a really interesting article on TV about, was it Christchurch?
Yep.
Yes.
Where they're actually looking at the recycling and putting it in and refusing to empty people's yellow bin and put a sticker on it.
Yeah. So that exact same process is going on here in Waipa.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, we do exactly the same thing: audits, stickers, letters, and then with repeat offenders, we remove the bin.
And what level of contamination are you finding?
Well, we're going to talk about that just shortly, actually.
Sorry.
So that's coming up next. Yeah.
And Brian, I think it goes back a little bit further than that. During the COVID lockdown, the City Council in Christchurch allowed everybody to put everything in one bin.
That's right.
But to get them to stop that, once the COVID had gone, it's been an absolute nightmare, and they've had to take drastic action to try and get them back with the separate bins.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's where the rot set in for them.
Yeah.
All right.
Bruce, sorry.
And Brian, just a comment from you. How do you educate people that if you ban them after 2 bins or something, how you do it, they'll just dump it anyway. How do you get it through to people that are just don't care?
Well, yeah, if I could answer that question, I'd be a millionaire, I'm sure. Yes. Yes, and you'll see as we get down the report a bit about that sort of frustration.
Susan, sorry,
Just
Brian.
a quick question, Brian. In terms of the recycling sorting centre, there were a plethora of complaints a couple of months back or a month or so back. Have those been resolved in terms of the noise that you're aware of? Or is that
I'm not aware of that.
Okay.
Sorry, no, I can't answer that question.
Okay, thank you.
Sue, are you talking about noise at the centre during the operation or
Yes,
something?
trucks.
I couldn't
and
make
banging
the smashing of the glass and the machines and things. Yeah, there was quite some significant complaints on Facebook and recorded videos of the sound, and it was pretty bad. So I'd hooked into the complaint sort of vein and hope. I was just trying to find out whether there was a resolution of that.
Dawn might have something to add.
I know that when we had the visit to the centre, the supervisor there made some comment about how they've modified how they do their operations and at times of the day when they do different activities and things. So they were certainly attempting to as I say, address some of the issues that the neighbours were experiencing at that point, and indicated that there've been some gains, I guess, in terms of reducing the amount of noise being generated. So.
Because my understanding was that there were restrictions in terms of their activities prior to that, and obviously it looked from the information that was coming to light that they hadn't been being adhered to. So so long as there's some resolution for the neighbours, because it was pretty extreme kind of noise.
Yeah, I think it's probably a good question for Carl Tutty at one of the other
I just
meetings.
wondered
I think
on account of it really came in on the back of a note there about the elected members' visit to the sorting centre, which unfortunately I couldn't make. But I appreciate that. Thanks very much.
Okay. The community funding applications have been done for the waste minimisation. So it was oversubscribed, but we have managed to give $40,000 out to some really good projects there, which I won't go through each one, but there's a list there of good stuff that's happening. And of course, the Rotary e-waste collection project in Cambridge has started as well, which is great to see.
Can I just one other thing? I just think there are some those community funding applications. There are some fantastic projects going on, and I wonder if we don't do enough to sort of celebrate and share that good work that people are doing, because I think often a lot of people just feel a bit lost about what they can do in their own backyard. And I mean, we're doing so much good work in this space. I sort of feel like we're not really letting everybody know. I wonder if we could perhaps, if comms could do more in that space, because there's some really good, big thinking, outside of the box thinking going on in some of these organisations and places. And I think it would be really good as sort of champions to champion those and you know, sing their praises, because those are the shifts we need everybody eventually to undertake.
No, you're absolutely right. They are good news stories, and I know our comms team already do make quite an effort to get them out there. I think sometimes it's a matter of the media has got a certain limit to how many of these sorts of stories they'll publish, and so but we do our best, and I can see Reagan over there looking with a smile that she's certainly doing her best to get that stuff out there.
Newspapers don't want too many good stories.
Yeah, well, that's right.
Doesn't help selling newspapers.
Yes, you need some exciting headlines as well. In terms of recycling complaints, so the numbers, have continued to drop, which is great, which is what we want. And the ones in recent times, obviously coming out of COVID, we also had the issue of, we bought all our original bins from Sulo, but Sulo is manufacturing bins for councils all around the country, and so they've been really slow to deliver additional bins, because every time a new house is built, there's another 2 bins to go out to customers, and so they've had trouble keeping up with that. We've had to go to another supplier to do that. The recycling volumes there are down a bit on last year because of COVID. But the disturbing thing that we are, like Christchurch, that we are facing, so we never had the situation where you were able to put your rubbish into a recycling bin, but we found during COVID that people certainly did. It's like they were home and they were cleaning out the shed and the cupboards, and anything that was glass or plastic or even looked like glass or plastic, they were sticking it into the recycling bins. So a lot of stuff during that time was sent to landfill because there was a lot of contamination, a lot of rubbish in there. And even post-COVID, we've found that there's generally higher levels of contamination. And one thing that's particularly disturbing, since May, we've had a lot of medical waste ending up in the mixed recycling bin. So there's photographs there. These are liquid bags that would be used for, I don't know what. We've been in touch with the health board. They have contacted all of their patients who might use this sort of equipment to get them to stop putting it in. We've tried to educate through pharmacies and veterinary clinics, because some of these things are farm waste. The one there, the picture with the needle, is cattle fever or milk fever or
Calcium borogluconate.
Yeah, so we've had a lot of those all ending up in there. Obviously farm medical waste as well as human medical waste. And it's been a major issue, because when this comes through the sorting line, everything on the sorting line, that whole truckload of material because they've found loose needles that have fallen out of sharp boxes and things like that. They've had to scoop the whole lot up and stick it in a truck and take it to the landfill, which is thousands of dollars every time we have to do that. So at least 15 occasions over the last few months, 15 truckloads have been contaminated with medical waste and had to be sent to the landfill. So when I wrote this report, we'd spent $18,000 disposing of materials at the landfill, and since then we've spent another 12 or 13,000, so over $30,000 of ratepayer money has had to go to dispose of this material. Plus we've lost the income from the materials that would have been recycled. So it's a significant issue, and we're working hard. The contractor's done a lot of audits on bins to try and find out where it's coming from. And it really is amazing. Like Councillor Thomas was saying, how do you get people to wake up and do the sensible thing when clearly this stuff should never be in a recycling bin? Sometimes the medical waste, they've gone to the effort of double bagging it in 2 plastic bags because they know it's medical waste, and that's the advice they're given by the health board. Double bag it and put it out with your refuse. But to then double bag it and stick it in the recycling bin is really hard to comprehend. The other,
Mr. Chairman, just on that point, if we're spending that much money having to send stuff to the landfill, is it appropriate for us to be actually looking to employ another resource or assisting the contractor to actually get down on this? Because it's obviously a case of somebody having to go around and check the bins before they're picked up and putting stickers on and maybe visiting the householder. But this is a significant amount of money that we're spending that we'd be better off investing in somebody to actually go around and do the work, because it's obviously a resourcing issue.
Yeah, well, to answer that question, the contractor, part of his contract is that they have to do a certain number of audits, and you can bet that they've had a team out there looking for these offenders, because it's they end up wearing part of that cost. under the contract that it's partly their risk. So they're incentivized to track down these people and try and stop it. Yeah.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Just quietly, with the bins, do they actually have an identification code on them?
Yeah.
They do, yes.
Yeah. So if they do have a problem, and I know it has to go back to that, but they don't have any way of actually checking the individual occupants' rubbish as it goes in, like a camera or a photograph.
Yeah.
Or
so there is a camera that looks at the bin, but it's quite, often the stuff is just mixed up with everything else in the recycling bin, with all the cardboard and everything else, so that the truck driver can glimpse that camera footage of the bin emptying, but frequently they don't see the detail. So, but it's not limited to medical waste. We get containers of used oil from cars, people changing their oil. When that goes through the system and it bursts either in the truck or in the plant, it contaminates everything. And recently we've had quite large containers of honey coming from somewhere, which have gone into the plant, meaning that they have to shut everything down and clean the whole plant down. So we've got staff standing around waiting for several hours until they can start working in. Yeah, so it's sort of that, my thoughts of it is it's a lifestyle block owner or somebody like that who's got no waste collection, and so they're sticking everything out of their shed into their recycling bin. So catching these people is incredibly difficult. We know when we empty a truck, we know it's done a certain run. So it could be, a quarter of Tiamutu or something like that. So we know it's in there somewhere, or Cambridge or wherever a countryside run, but knowing specifically the property.
But it's rural.
Well, some of it's clearly rural, because I don't think there'll be many people in town, medicating their cows.
But whether that came from a vet clinic.
Right, so the vet clinics don't have access to our recycling service. They don't have a council recycling service. So and we've written letters to all of them, and they've come back to us and said, it's shocking, but we don't use your recycling service. And we said to them, well, no, we were encouraging you to talk to your customers and make sure when you're selling these products and things that they know you can't recycle it.
So press the button.
Sorry, because in terms of the calcium, I think the biggest sellers of those would be the likes of Farmlands and Farm Source.
Right.
So they'd probably be good places to go to say, hey,
Okay.
do you mind just
Getting the message out.
Getting the message out,
Okay.
not so much veterinary.
That's good advice. We have, been to Federated Farmers as well. So as many opportunities as we can to get the message out. Yeah.
Brian, just a comment too, just heard on the radio on the way over, Waipa District Council on the news there about the fly tipping, which was good. It sort of makes it nice and, well, I guess auditable, but visual for people to know that as a council, we're sort of doing something about it. We're finding people, the numbers were there, and that we're lobbying government. So I thought it was, well done on our part.
Yeah, cool. Thank you. So, there is likely to be an article in the Waikato Times also that we've had discussions with the journalists about this medical waste, because they picked it up from the agenda. So it'll be another.
I think it was in the Times either this morning or yesterday, Brian.
Right. Okay.
I
So
saw the photo of someone on Whauripapa Road. Did you see it, Medley?
Yeah. Well, it's good. Yeah. Thank you. The next part there, contractor road and service request response. So you'll recall last year and through COVID, we had dropped back in our performance in terms of closing out requests within those 10 days. So we've made quite a lot of progress in getting that up to scratch. So 90% is the target, and we're currently at 82 or nearly 83%. So we are getting that back to where it needs to be. There's a steady flow of calls, whether that's signs or street lights not working or other things there. So that finishes my report. Any other questions?
Thanks, Brian.
No,
Mover and seconder, please, to receive. Thank you, Lou. Thank you, We've got Claire. All those in favour say aye. Against, carried. Brian, thank you so much for answering all those questions. It's kind of stuff that it's at the coal face for us. So having those answers in here has been great. Thank you so much. Cool. Okay, Tiamutu Rotary Christmas Parade 2020. Morning, Julie. Nice to have you here.
Yes, we've got the Tiamutu Christmas Parade happening on the 5th of December. They've applied to close some roads for that, so hoping that's very similar to last year. So hopefully we can put that through.
No dramas about that. No. Thank you. Marcus and Andrew, all those in favour say aye. Against, carried.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Sorry, Philip.
Just out of interest, the Cambridge Christmas Parade is on the 6th, the next day. Cambridge Christmas Parade.
There's already been.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we did that. Yeah. Contract signed under delegation. There's 3 there. Those toilets going all right out at Parongi, Claire? No, well, you've been hanging on for a while. I mean, hanging on to get them built. Are they on site? What? Oh, okay. Yeah. Cool. Yep. Thank you. Seconder, please. Claire moved, didn't you? Oh, whatever. Thank you. Okay. Make it clear. Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Tab 9.3 Waters Reform Update, and beautiful timing, Martin. Good to have you here, Martin.
Good morning, Chair and Councillors. Just a brief update on the Free Waters reform. So there's a bit of wordy stuff in there. I'll just bring out some highlights of that. So obviously we've signed the MOU and are committed to working with the DIA on water reform. Currently the first tranche of the funding of 3.4 million, we've invoiced for that, so that money is bringing its way to us, which is good. So as part of the MOU, in partnership with Free Waters Reform Steering Committee, the DIA is seeking information on how we do business and what our water business looks like across all 67 councils, to enable them to make informed decisions around any future entities. So they've sent out a request for information. Both the DIA and the steering committee have acknowledged that we're extremely busy, and this is extra workload on us to try and respond to the RFI. So they've put up plenty of support for us, which includes email help desk, webinars, regular updates and technical support. So they've engaged the Scottish Water Commission to oversee the request for information. And so we have 2 weekly catch-ups with them back in Scotland, and because they wrote the request for information. So it's really providing good support for us to enable us to answer a lot of the questions. All the local authorities that signed up for reform must provide a base level of response, and some councils were selected to do a more detailed response. Waipa wasn't selected to do the detailed response, but we've said we will. So we volunteered to do the more detailed response. We think that puts us in a good place for us to understand our business as much as what the DIA will require. And if we didn't do it now, we'd be required to do it in the future. So we're completing that now. There's a significant amount of work required, and it's due by the 1st of February. And it will probably take the equivalent of 4 full-time staff working on it between now and then. Not the same 4 people, but a variance of people, but probably the equivalent of that range. There is $60,000 that we can spend from our delivery plan money, not extra money, but we can divert $60 million from our delivery plan to help backfill any roles that are required. So we may well be using that.
Is that covered within existing budgets, or you've got to fund it from somewhere, haven't it?
The Well, so it's just doing it on top of work as business as usual, just doing extra work to respond to this. Yep.
Bruce.
Martin just said though that there's 60,000 been retained from the 6.4 million that we got to actually fund that. So who it's actually funding, but there is funding available to cover the backup.
Yep, that's correct. Yep. So the workbook itself is quite exhaustive. It's got, if you know, an Excel spreadsheet, it's got 67 individual tabs along the bottom with approximately 1,400 rows of data required. And each row has got approximately 8 columns. So it's quite an exhaustive request for information. So we've had a look at much of the data is moderately difficult to obtain. With approximately 10% easier and 50% in the difficult range. So we started working through that. And it's probably split between water services and project delivery are probably doing 90% of the work. And it will need finance and HR and some other teams to respond to some particular questions. But it's a lot of work, and there is a list of the information required. It's it goes from AA to J in the tabs, and each one's got J1, J2, J3, and so on and so forth. And then there's a little screenshot of one of the sections of what sort of information they're after.
So through you, Mr. Chair. Martin, an incredible amount of work that's required, and I know that you've got the 60,000, but are we expecting our existing team, who've got a busy workload anyway, to fulfill this task?
Yes. The 60,000 is to backfill some of the work they're currently doing. Yep, we are busy with LTP, AMP, and business as usual.
And other work,
and other work, but again, it's to enable the next decision for water reform to be made in March. They need to have this information prepared. So yep, we're just working extremely hard.
A lot of extra strain on you as a department, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, using our existing staff to do this sort of work would be the most efficient, I would imagine, Martin, because they've got a good understanding. So paying someone to support them was the only option, I would imagine.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah. Yeah, we couldn't pay someone to do it externally. We know where the information is and where, so we need to do it ourselves. Yeah. And it also gives us, we learn as we go as well. So.
Oh, sorry, Claire. I was just going to ask, I know it's difficult in gathering this information up, but have we got all of the information, but just in different formats, or are we actually having to go out and do on the ground work to identify some issues?
No, so it's all information we should have. It's just collating it and putting it all together. And it's also comes along with a confidence level. So on that little screenshot with the orange and the green boxes are confidence level. So if we're extremely confident the information is correct, then it's a high score, a 1. If we're not so sure, or we've just made our best guess, then it's a 5. So they'll use that information as well. So if we know it 100%, it's a 1, and if we've made our best guess, then it's a 5.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask a similar question, Jim, but I also noticed that table that gives the response template information requested under the quality and environment outputs, it just lists water quality compliance and wastewater quality compliance, because I thought one of the big cost drivers is the quality of stormwater discharges and what implications that might have. I was a bit surprised that it wasn't there.
Yep. So again, the Free Waters reform is although it covers the 3 waters, that they are concentrating on the 2 waters to begin. There is quite a bit of stormwater information still gathered, but the stormwater one is sort of playing second fiddle at the moment as we go along.
Because I mean, I understand that stormwater side of things is actually going to be a big factor in our next LTP. Yeah. So I mean, in a way, it's going to miss some important stuff, isn't it? If the reform team down in Wellington are only looking at these 2 waters. Yeah.
So certainly looking at the cost of stormwater and our future spend pattern, both what we had in our So that they've asked for what we had in our proposed LDP, as well as what's in the approved one, so they can see the challenges we're faced. So they're getting all of that information.
Okay.
That's so we're just waiting for the invoice to be paid, and then we can start working on the delivery plan.
Because checks in the mail.
Yeah, because as alongside this, the delivery plan, as soon as that money arrives, we've got to then kick in and start delivering the delivery plan.
Is there a time when you would expect to have that?
By the end of the month.
What was that?
By the end of this month.
Oh, radio. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Any other questions for Martin? Okay. There's a recommendation that we receive the report from the Manager Water Services. Thank you, Roger. Thank you, Andrew. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Thank you. Okay. So we'll just go to a resolution to exclude the public, and then we'll break for morning tea, and we can go off the camera. There's about 5 or 10 minutes wanted for that. Yeah. You happy to move, Philip? Andrew seconds?